Okay, hello. This is day 5 of 31 of me making videos. I'll try and make this a shorter video today. It's been quite a long day today and don't really want to spend too much time talking. Just like yesterday and the day before, I wrote some notes sort of halfway through my day. I will sort of speak from those notes like I did yesterday, and I think that's actually quite a good way for me to structure these videos now. There's two parts to it, just like yesterday as well. I'll talk about things that kind of happened today for me, and then also something else that's kind of sprung to mind that I sort of went into a little bit of thought and depth into trying to not only understand but write down and talk about in this video. So I'll just get started. So the notes that I took about halfway through my day, I was working today. The one thing that I did realize throughout the day, especially in the morning, was that I'm much more relaxed today compared to yesterday, and actually I'm more relaxed than I felt in quite a long time. I definitely have made sure that as I'm talking to people, I'm talking to colleagues, or I'm talking to anybody in general, I'm actually taking a little bit longer for me to both speak and to actually make sure that I am able to wrap my thoughts around what I want to say, as opposed to letting my thoughts wrap around me. And now, of course, all of this, as I did acknowledge as well, was that this is all still a work in progress. There was actually, right before my lunch, I actually had a conversation with a colleague that I don't sort of usually spend too much time with. I know them and we've kind of worked together, but not that frequently. We don't work in the same sort of department. And I remember we were having a conversation in our break room, and I completely butchered the conversation. It's very awkward, and I wasn't speaking very loudly. And yeah, it was very clear that because of a bit of my awkwardness in the moment, it sort of made both of us awkward, and then we both kind of just did our own thing. And I remember thinking, oh my god, that was so bad. And actually the thing is, though, later in the day, towards the end of the day, I actually had a really good interaction with this person as well, and that very much made up for whatever interaction we had earlier in the day. And either way, the thing is, the only reason why I'm thinking about that is because I'm making this video, and that's actually a really good thing, because like if I think about, I believe it was yesterday's video, and maybe even actually the day before, where I create issues, I overcomplicate something that is not complicated at all. Well, there's no complication other than the complication I put in, other than the complexity I bring into that situation, that discussion, that conversation, or that issue, that topic, that subject, when there wasn't any to begin with. So I definitely believe that sort of even just the last 2 days of the notes that I've made and I've been taking, especially I believe yesterday's, where I don't make a problem out of something, or I don't create a problem out of nothing, and then by thinking there's a problem and considering me being within that problem and making myself the center of that problem, I become the problem. I just sort of after went, look, unfortunately that's sort of just something that's going to happen, and it's life. But yeah, sort of the only reason why I'm thinking about this now, which is, in the best way, because if I wasn't making these videos, that issue, that awkward kind of interaction I had with this person, there'd be no medium for me to kind of let that go. There's no way for me to sort of, for sure, make sure it's that thing that happened, that kind of thought actually passes through, and it doesn't just get stuck, or I push out part of it, but then there's still some residue left, at least this way, when we're talking about it and having a reason to talk about it. It means that I can genuinely let this go, which is a really great thing. And that's also probably part of the reason why I feel more relaxed today, especially over the last week, just feeling much more open and comfortable, being not so much exposed, but I don't have to be timid anymore. And yeah, definitely something else that I was doing today, I was engaging with a lot more colleagues that I wouldn't have otherwise talked talking to, I would have otherwise spoken to. There are people that I would usually walk by that work in different departments that I don't have any real need to engage with, because there's sort of very little, if not no, point where we're actually working together. Usually when I sort of see these people, because we don't really have any reason to talk, I don't. And, you know, that's just sort of become the baseline. So we'll kind of pass each other, and there'll be either an awkward kind of, you know, head nod, or we'll kind of pretend that we're looking at something else, even though there's really nothing else to look at. So I just blatantly say, hello, how are you? How are you doing? As opposed to just sort of trying to pretend like I can't make eye contact. And that did make me feel a little bit more relaxed at work as well. It's like I can actually be open with a lot of people that I've otherwise closed myself up to. So definitely next time that I am going to work, where I am going to be around people that I will see very frequently, very often, I'll make sure that I actually engage with every colleague that I see, no matter how closely or how sparsely we ever end up engaging or working together, because that's just something I should want to do anyways. That actually is proper social etiquette, A, and B, it just feels more pleasant to do that. It actually is more satisfying. That sort of is going to be something that I point to in the next part of this video. So, something that I think actually ties quite well. Okay, now the second part of this video, I believe actually sort of works in line with the first part of the video, talking about my day and some of the thoughts that I've had about myself and my character and my manner, and how that's developed a little bit. This sort of new idea that I've thought about that sort of just came to me, and then I wrote about it, and then on my lunch break I went into a little bit more depth, and then really went into that much more depth into actually making sure that I could spend a few minutes actually discussing and at least explaining a little bit about what I mean, or at least a little bit about how I interpret this idea, this saying, and this statement. So I must have heard this years ago, but this just sort of came to me in a thought. People treat you in proportion to how you treat yourself, indirectly influencing how you believe you deserve to be treated by others. Now, there is this reinforcing loop that occurs. If you believe you deserve to be treated with respect by others, and you then therefore acknowledge that you need to act in accordance with that belief, with your interactions with people, and you do that by making sure that your mannerisms, that how you act, how you engage with them, how you present yourself and your character, and how you speak, the time you take, the things you say, the thoughts you present, and how you listen as well, they will do just that. They will treat you in accordance with how it is you are intending to be treated, because of how you are acting, to ensure that that is who you not only come across to be, but who you want to believe you are. Now, this further reinforces this acknowledgement and belief that for you, you deserve to always be treated that way, because of the positive emotion brought on to reinforce that idea, or that notion, that belief, and that behavior. Now, if in contrast, if you do the inverse, if you believe that you deserve to be treated with maybe less respect or less well, and then you act in accordance with that belief, whether you consciously want that belief or it unconsciously comes to you, either way, you likely understand from an instinctual sort of perspective whether that feels right or wrong. But either way, say it with the inverse, you let yourself act in accordance with that belief, and that's how you act with the interactions with other people. That's how you present yourself, that's how you speak, with this expectation not be treated with as much respect, as much credibility, as much responsibility, or as many pleasantries with the other person. They will do just that. They will treat you in accordance with that manner. And that will unfortunately further reinforce this acknowledgement and belief that you deserve to always be treated that way, because of the in this case the negative emotion, but the emotional release, the emotional sensation brought on, that will reinforce the idea, notion, belief, and the behavior that is the way you deserve to be treated, which becomes the way you accept to be treated, whether or not that's how you want to be treated. Now, if in contrast, if you do the inverse and you let the negative emotion become that emotion you feel, or that sensation, which becomes what you solely sort of accept as what you feel when you interact with others. If you let that become the new thing that guides you through your interactions, and that's the thing you end up looking for at the end of every interaction, every engagement within all of your relationships, and that becomes your new Polaris star. It will lead you away from where you should, and you internally know you want to voyage where you want to go. Whether you consciously lead yourself there or not, that's where you're going to go. Whether you acknowledge that, well, this is bad and I should want that, but it's sort of what I've become used to, and it's become the thing that I don't know how to escape, so it's the thing that I just continue to fall into. Whether you acknowledge it or you don't, that's what's going to happen. Now, what I will make sure that I do, after having considered that thought and really gone into a little bit more depth about understanding what that truly means, what that really means, and how that, in a sense, kind of will influence and impact my own life, and how I can apply that into my own life. I will make sure that I will cut negative feedback loops as they immediately arise, and I will let them go. I will only acknowledge and therefore reward positive mental rewards to align myself with how I not only wish, but how I morally demand to be treated. Now, what I mean by this loop is that, you have the interaction, you have the sensation, you have that feedback to yourself, you have the interaction, the sensation, the feedback, interaction, sensation, feedback, and it goes in this spiral. And if you let it go on a negative spiral, if you let it go on a spiral too fast, it becomes quite hard to slow that spiral down. And if it's, say, spiraling the wrong way, it's quite hard to wind it the other way around. I hope that makes sense. It does to me. And I think that plays really well into what I discussed yesterday about, finding myself as the problem center in things, and even how it comes down to the day before that, where again I'm making myself the key issue in that situation. Whereas here, if I just simply discard any of those negatives feedback loops, if I disrupt the cycle before it becomes a loop, and I flip it the other way around, and I only focus on the good, and I consciously intend to only look at that, well, that puts me in a much better position. That puts me in such a better point. That's going to lead me down a much better direction. Okay, I'm gonna end this video here. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Now, now tomorrow I don't really have, I don't have any commitments, so I will make a video looking at temptation, because I find myself having tried to make better decisions, trying to make better, trying to take better actions in my life. I find myself, while I'm trying to make better decisions and behave with better actions, it's so easy to fall back into very negative feedback loops. And looking at trying to really understand those temptations. Why do I have those temptations? Until tomorrow, take care.